Chapter 4, Lesson 1, Graphing Linear Equations. Two key terms. One, linear equation. Linear, remember we've talked about linear means straight. So an equation is, a linear equation is an equation that forms a line when it is graphed. And remember, linear is a straight, so this will be a straight line. Solution. A solution is an answer that makes an equation true. So whatever you put in for x, you would get an answer for y. That ordered pair would be a solution. It would be an answer to that equation. There's an infinite number of solutions in these equations because I can plug anything I want in for x here. And I would always get a new value for y when I plug it in. In order to sketch a graph, what we're going to do is actually first make a table of values. And this is a table right here. So the values that we're going to use, they inform us to use -3 to 3. Those are x values. You plug in for x, you get something out for y. So -3 to 3. So -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. We're going to plug those values in. That's what you put in for x here into your equation. Now looking at this equation, you have -3 in front of x. -3 is multiplying by x. So you make sure you multiply those terms as you put them in. So we have -3 that we'll put in for x first. So our equation was basically saying -3 times -3, which is going to give us 9, and then we would add our 4, giving us 13. Now we're going to go ahead and put in -2 in for x. So we could have -3 times -2 is 6, plus 4 is 10. -3 times -1 is 3, plus 4 is 7. Go ahead and fill in these rest of these values here. So put in 0, 1, 2, and 3. Pause the video and come back. Alright, now that we're back, we've substituted these values in. For 0 we would get 4. For 1 you should have had 1. 2 is -2, and -5 to round out our table. The next thing that we want to do is go ahead and plot these. Now these are ordered pairs. The ordered pair is -3, 13, -2, 10, -1, 7. So I'm going to go ahead and plot all of these values on my graph over here. So -3, I'd start at my origin, I'd come over -3. You move left to right first, so I'd come over this way. -3, and then I would go up 13. Now my graph goes up to 10, so 13 is approximately right in there. Put a plot. Again, start from your origin. Go over -2. So I come over -2, and then I go up 10, put a plot. -1, 7, over -1, up 7, plot. 0, 4. 0 is telling me I don't move any direction, then I need to move up 4. 1, 1. 2, -2. And finally 3, -5. Now I should have all those in a line, and remember everything today is a linear equation, so everything will make a straight line. If you have a graph that a point is way off and it's not going to be in that line, you've figured out your table of values wrong, or you plotted wrong. So everything should fall in a straight line. Now you can go ahead and use a straight edge and draw a linear line all the way through those points. And there's that linear line. Notice that it goes all the way through the points. It just doesn't connect the dots. It goes all the way through them. It goes through my x and my y axis, and I have an arrow on each end indicating that this line goes on forever in both directions. Same concept in table 2. We have y equals 2/3 x minus 2. We're going to go ahead and fill in our table again. Remember, we're using the values as mentioned from -3 up into 3, so we'll go ahead and fill these in. Those are the things that we are inputting in for x, and we get something out for y. So when we put in this first value of -3 up into the equation for x, we are taking 2/3 times -3, and then we would subtract 2, giving us -4. Put in -2. 2/3 times -2 is -4/3 minus 2 is giving us -3 1/3. Go ahead and finish up the rest of these values here and then check back in. So pause the video. Alright, now that you're back from filling in those table of the values in our table here, we're going to go ahead and plot these. And again, remember, these are ordered pairs, so we have -3 and -4. So when we plot this, again, every time we plot, we start from the origin here. So when we start from the origin, -3, well, that's to the left, so we come over -3 units, and we would go down -4. Here's our plot. Again, start from the origin, -2, so we come over -2, and then we would go down -3 1/3. Now here's -3 is right there. It's slightly more than -3. It's -3 1/3. So it's an approximation. So it's -3 1/3 is about right in there. And then we go -2 2/3. So -1 and -2 2/3 about right here. 0, -2, 1, and 1 and 1, -1 and 1/3. So there's -1 and 1/3. 2, and we have 2/3 approximately. So here's about 2/3. And last would be 3, 0. And there would be all of our plots. And it looks like they all line up. They would create that linear line. So go ahead and construct that linear line with a straight edge. Again, notice my linear line just didn't connect those points. It went all the way through both axes. I used almost all of my grid. I have arrows on both ends indicating that this line, this linear line, goes on forever in both directions. This concludes lesson 1, graphing linear equations.